सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Just in case some of you are wondering why we keep coming back to national politics for national interest, it's because politics is so important. In fact, if you look at our mug, the print mug, it says because politics matters. And the print takes politics very seriously. And that's why national interest is back to national politics again this week. It also happens to be coinciding with the 43rd birthday of the BJP. And what is it that we are talking about? So on the BJP's 43rd birthday, or rather rebirth day as Advani preferred to call it, especially because it was founded on the Easter weekend in 1980. By the way, I have a Walk the Talk with Advani, my first Walk the Talk in fact as the program began, and that was recorded in front of North Block when he was Home Minister, and he said at that day, he acknowledged, because that recording was on April 6th, and he said that this is the Easter weekend. April 6th then fell on a Sunday in that year, and he said this is the weekend when BJP was founded, and even then I said that this is rebirth like Jesus Christ. So because of this birthday or rebirth day, much has been written about the party around which now all of India's politics dances. In fact, BJP is the pivot. Just as Congress used to be the pivot in the past, BJP is now the pivot around which all of India's politics dances. The more important landmark, however, is that the party's second consecutive government is entering its last year. By this time next year, a couple of rounds of voting will have already taken place. As things stand today, despite all the frenetic activity on the part of the opposition parties, the BJP would look to be in a near impregnable situation. This isn't a privilege it had under its founders. However, it is still very much the party they had founded from the ashes of the Janata Party, but much has changed and evolved under Narendra Modi, Amit Shah, and now JP Nadda as well. It's a good time to see how similar is this 43-year-old to the party Advani and Atal Bihari Vajpayee founded, and how it has changed. The first thing that hasn't changed is the ideological cohesion. The founders stayed mostly true to the RSS, let's say Sangh, that's shorter, Sangh ideology, while they drew in much talent from outside, as the Modi-Shah team has done under NDA 2. They didn't do it under NDA 1, their NDA 1. The top party leaders all came from the same ideological nursery under Vajpayee and Advani, as is the case now. The top leaders of the BJP came from the ideological nursery. There were some outsiders like Jaswant Singh and Yashwant Sinha, but they never became leaders of the party. They were ministers, senior ministers in the government, but they were not leaders of the party. The positions that only the ideological comrades occupied in the party included presidents, key general secretaries, even most, not all of the state chiefs. This leadership is equally close to the ideas of the RSS. There are many differences too, though you could argue that these also reflect the reality of numbers, because the founders never had a majority. The need to keep a diverse coalition together, for that they needed to put some of the essential elements of their ideology on the back burner. The special status of Kashmir, for example, Article 370, the Ram Temple, and the Uniform Civil Code being the most prominent. Their successors won a majority and realized the first two quickly. The third is being done through salami slicing. I'll explain how. Triple Talaq was the beginning. The minimum age of marriage and polygamy, we can be sure, in fact I can be quite sure, are on the way. The fact that the founders recreated an ideological party subsumed and lost in the 1977 Janata Party experiment is creditable by itself. Of the 5 major constituents that merged to form the Janata Party, that is Bharatiya Janasangh, the Indian National Congress, O for organization, the Socialist Party, The Bharatiya Lok Dal, led by Chaudhry Charan Singh, who later became briefly the Prime Minister, and Babu Jagjeevan Ram's Congress for Democracy. There was just one that not only survived but emerged in a new avatar much stronger. That was the BJP. All others fell by the wayside and some elements morphed into state-specific caste-based parties via the Janata Dal route, such as the Samajwadi Party, Mulayam Singh's party, and the RJD, Lalu Prasad Yadav's party. The socialists were finally reduced to George Fernandez and now Nitish Kumar's JDU in Bihar. The Janata Party's fate is truly summarized in that immortal 1948 duet in the voices of Mohammad Rafi and Suraiya. Ek dil ke tukde hazar hue, koi yahan gira, koi wahan gira. Translated, I know that many of you complain, particularly those in the south, that I use a lot of Hindi metaphor and they would appreciate it if I translate it. Now, translating music, poetry is tough, but I will try. So, ek dil ke tukde hazar hue, koi yahan gira, koi wahan gira. Roughly translated as, this heart broke into 1,000 pieces and the pieces fell all across the land. That is how Janata Party ended up, but one of those pieces, only one of those pieces pulled itself up and now rules us with power without comparison in our history, not even in Indira Gandhi's heyday. And a clear ideology was a big reason why the Janasangh was reborn unscathed as the Bharatiya Janata Party. If ideology was such an effective glue, it was also a baggage because it deterred others from joining hands with the BJP, much as they all detested the Congress and the Gandhi dynasty. In any case, everybody loves power and they wanted power and they knew the only way they could get power is by getting together against the Gandhi dynasty. But many of them were shy of joining the BJP or a BJP-led alliance, partly also because they had the fear of losing the Muslim vote. That remained the BJP's biggest challenge. And if Modi and Shah are so successful now, they need to thank the founders, especially Vajpayee, for ridding the party of its untouchability in the opposition space. The big move was offering support to VP Singh's government to deny power to the Congress under Rajiv Gandhi, although it was by far the largest party in 1989. It isn't a political event adequately appreciated now, but the BJP's support, if short-lived, to a left-leaning combination even supported by left parties from outside, it was so sharply at odds with. This was a combination, the BJP, it was a left combination, the BJP was so sharply at odds with ideologically. This began the dilution of that untouchability. It was also realpolitik of the highest order, as the best way to weaken the Congress was to keep it away from power for longer. How much of a challenge it was is evident from the anti-BJP coalitions the Congress later helped build in power. From Chandrasekhar 1990-91, short-lived government, to H.D. Devagowda and I.K. Gujral, both short-lived, but those were combinations that Congress supported in power. It was very simple then to justify these combinations on the argument of keeping secular forces together and communal ones out. The BJP, while building the NDA, did not have that privilege or did not have that excuse or logic or reasoning. In fact, it was a liability for them. For Advani and Vajpayee to make common cause with some of the same forces subsequently was a much bigger achievement. Mamata Banerjee, Chandrababu Naidu, Naveen Patnaik, Ramvilas Paswan, the Abdullahs of Kashmir among others joined their coalition besides their natural allies such as Shiromani Akali Dal and the Shiv Sena. You will hear more about that in just a moment. That ended their political untouchability. The difference now is that the BJP has become so powerful by itself that it does not need any of these allies, not even the Akalis and the Shiv Sena. They dumped one, that is the Akali Dal, broke the other, that is the Shiv Sena. It may make some local and opportunistic arrangements with tiny caste-based parties like the Kurmis Apna Dal or the Rajbhar party in UP or the Kushwaha party in Bihar. This happens especially in the heartland, but it depends on none. Two exceptions are the AIA-DMK in Tamil Nadu and Eknath Shinde's Shiv Sena, which they have priced out of the original Shiv Sena. But let's watch how durable the Shinde Sena's prospects are. Maybe we'll review it and we'll check out the suspicions which I must have voiced right now by the time we are writing something on the BJP's 45th birthday. If from having to worry about being untouchable for likely allies, the BJP has risen to a place where they can't be touched by any rival, right? So they are untouchable now, but in a different way. No rival can touch them. Earlier, no likely ally would touch them. These incumbents, the BJP incumbents, have also made some major departures from the ideas and from the forces or the political force they inherited. You could also call it evolution. First of all, the party now has an almighty personality cult, which is something it stood against so strongly in the Indira era. Remember, Indira is India. When that was said by D.K. Barua, there was such opposition, particularly from elements of what then used to be the Jansangh, the parent of the BJP. In the Vajpayee-Advani period, power was shared between the two, and others, especially the RSS, had a say, often in disapproval. Now the RSS fully endorses the government and celebrates all its actions. You could of course argue that if the government is delivering so fully on its ideological agenda or concerns, why should the RSS be complaining? But the fact also is that there is a logic of numbers, and that numbers Mr. Modi gets. So the RSS also has to be deeply grateful because they get so much power and so many of their wishes are now being fulfilled. The next is the basic approach to politics. The founders could play hardball, but Vajpayee often said, Rajniti sauda nahi hai, or politics isn't transactional. Their successors, on the other hand, have perfected their own version of transactionally uncluttered politics. Vajpayee built a strong, centralized Prime Minister's office, and the RSS routinely questioned it. Mr. K.S. Sudarshan, who was the head of the RSS at that time in particular. In fact, he said so quite strongly and quite explicitly in a two-part walk the talk interview with me as well, which created quite a buzz at that point of time. I will share the links with you with the description from NDTV's website, of course. So please check those out. The Modi PMO, on the other hand, is enormously more powerful, and nobody is complaining. It helps that the party does not need to give any space to an ally, otherwise the allies might have complained. RSS is quite fulfilled. The Vajpayee government, we should note, had at least one ideological outsider, George Fernandes, in his cabinet committee on security. Now, no such clutter. Among the many aspirational things the founders started, one was a quest to expand the party's footprint in the south. That's how, see, the presidents they had. They had Bangaru Lakshman, from what used to be combined Andhra then. Bangaru Lakshman fell into disrepute because of the Tehelka expose. So after that, they had Janak Krishnamurthy again from the south, and then Venkaiah Naidu. So three successive presidents from the south, but they were not able to grow that much in the south. Their successors now are working on the same project. You can see how active they are in Karnataka, but Karnataka, they hold power. Telangana elections are coming up. Tamil Nadu, their alliance with AIADMK is becoming stronger, and in spite of all the provocations and disappointments, they are hanging on to the alliance. So the project south for the BJP is still on. The successors to the founders have not been able to complete the project that the founders had started. The other thing the founders started was a search for younger talent. In January 1984, when the party had been reduced to 2 seats in the Rajiv wave, I interviewed Vajpayee for a cover story on India's battered opposition. That was for India Today. In fact, that interview is published in India Today. Vajpayee acknowledged that youth was one of Rajiv's strengths and that he was looking for younger leaders. He said, in fact, that Eko to aap jante hain, you know, one of them, Arun Jaitley in Delhi. In Maharashtra, there is also Pramod Mahajan. So he was searching for young talent in January 1984. The fact is, many of the younger leaders identified in the founders' era are now leading the party. Topmost of these is Narendra Modi himself. How does the current leadership's report card compare with the founders on the HR metric, human resource development? Do we see the rise of the next generation of leaders? There are some, like Himanta Biswa Sarma, Yogi Adityanath, maybe Devendra Fadnavis. Of course, there are leaders in Delhi, notably Amit Shah and now JP Nadda as well. The list, however, is probably not as wide a catchment as it was under the founders. The BJP at 43 is a work in progress, with total ideological continuity and much substantive change in political method and style as well. Whether you like it or not, of course, depends on where you are coming from. Now, very often, many of you ask me to recommend books on the subject that I'm talking about or writing about. So right now, because the context is the BJP and its evolution, please do read something that comes sort of from within, from inside, a kind of insider's account. So this is Amit Shah and the March of BJP, fairly recent, written by Anirban Ganguly and Shivanand Dwivedi. This has a lot of facts, and as I said earlier, whether you like it or not would depend on where you are coming from. But these are very interesting and very important insights. Of course, you can draw your own conclusions. And finally, before I let you go, let me ask you, have you become members of our YouTube community? Go to the join button, hit it. If you hit the join button, see how it's done on the screen. You will become members of our YouTube community. You will have to pay something for sure, because unless you pay, we can't carry on like this. You will pay us something. In return, we will give you some benefits. For example, most of our key videos you will be able to watch earlier than those who haven't paid or those who are not members. But members community, we also have special events for you, special discussions with you, special chats with our reporters. All those are very interesting. And you know what? I also work harder for you. I and my colleagues work harder because we sit up at night, look at your responses, particularly mark out the responses for those with badges. These are our YouTube community members, very valuable, and we respond to them directly. And these are not responses from bots or anything pre-recorded. These are responses from genuine human beings like me and my colleagues who you address your notes to. So please become members of this very fine community. It's growing very fast. There will be more benefits as you go along. So once again, please do hit that join button and become a member of our YouTube community.